re-engage in this conversation of contemporary expression on a very old traditional form. Now, I think Peter Sellars need no introduction. We're really very lucky to catch him because he is almost never in Los Angeles. Peter is the director of operas, theater, and music festivals, and he has interpreted many classical operas, symphonies, and he has he's working on many different projects, which is in our handout. You will read a lot more about him, so forgive me if I gloss over your wonderful projects. Peter most recently worked on the Nixon in China, John Adams production at the Met, and it was hugely acclaimed, and I believe the first time that it was shown at the Metropolitan Opera in New York, even though it was an opera written quite a while ago. So Peter's constantly engaging us, the audience, in thinking thinking in an engaging way with contemporary society, politics, and culture. Wenyi is the best known and recognized Kun opera star. She is from Shanghai. She graduated from the first crop of students in 1954 from the Shanghai Kun Opera School, and she was the artistic director for the Shanghai Kun Opera until she performed worldwide. And when she moved to the United States with her husband, she continued to perform, and she continues to be in demand, and only just arrived back in Los Angeles from Shanghai from several important performances. So we thank both Peter and Wenyi for being with us tonight. I also want to thank Susan Pertal Jain, who is there sitting in the middle. Susan is currently the executive director of the Confucius Institute at UCLA. But Susan's history with both Peter and Wenyi goes back a very long time, decades. And it was Susan who brought them together. They all met working on the LA Festival. And Susan, tonight, she is completely fluent in Chinese. She is also completely an expert in Kun opera, and in fact, in a lot of the opera forms of China. She has a doctorate in Asian theater from the University of Hawaii. So we're very lucky to have Susan help illuminate the discussion here tonight. And last but not least, I want to mention Henry Chang, who is sitting over there. He is the flautist. He will be accompanying Wenyi on various of her journeys in song. And I also want to thank a couple of people, Lori Dowling and Mike Wu, for very early on being very supportive with this idea of having a conversation with Peter Sellars, and Wenyi. So thank you. And also to our staff who worked really hard, Michelle Bailey, my colleague, and Jessica Ashbrook, who did this whole event, and of course many, many more that I'm not mentioning right now. So before I go on and take the stage, let me just introduce you to Peter, Susan, and Wenyi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming over tonight to the Huntington. It's a very thrilling night because there are, in Los Angeles, a couple of rare and extraordinary treasures in the history of Chinese culture. One is this garden and the other is this woman. And tonight they're in the same place. That's pretty incredible. In fact, thank you, June, for the life work of this garden, which is really an extraordinary achievement and really will be there for generations of Californians and for people all over the world. I think for me, one of the most reasons I got interested in Kunshu early on is the largest cultural organization in America is the Metropolitan Opera, and it exists because there were Russian, German, and Italian immigrants in New York 150 years ago. What interests me a lot here in Southern California is the future of America is being written here. And this community, stepping forward and creating this garden, is such an image of the future of this country in the most positive, beautiful, and moving way. And this garden is not just an object, it's actually a living force. That's what a garden is. It's not a monument. It's alive, it's changing, it's blooming. It is about a future. It's about seeds that were planted and a vision that will grow and grow and grow. That's why in classical Chinese culture, the garden was such a crucial image for imagining and cultivating a future. You know, in America now, where culture has been put to the bottom of the heap, you know, it's no longer a priority, and the president can say in his State of the Union that he wants a new generation of Americans to be engineers and scientists. You want to say, well, excuse me. You know, the engineers and scientists can design the smart bombs to bomb Libya, but they can't tell you if you should bomb Libya. You know, there's a reason for culture to exist. And of course, Chinese culture is so charged with meaning and purpose. And Kunshu is one of the great moments in the history of Chinese culture that coincides with the actually full flowering of the Chinese garden tradition. I would just mention, obviously, the long, deep tradition that goes back to the Lotus Sutra, the Flower Ornament Sutra, of the image of the flower in Asian culture. And the image of the flower as the highest moment of philosophy, the highest moment of human achievement. What it means that every one of us hopes that we arrive at the moment in our own lives where we fully flower. And we want our children to flower. And this understanding of life as the process of planting a seed, cultivating patiently a vision, and finally being present for the flower. This is the deepest meaning of what culture and cultivation have to offer in human life and what separates us from dogs and cats. This garden here is part of such a deep cultural matrix, which includes the poetry of the Kunshu tradition. Kunshu, in the 17th century, it's basically happening at the same time as Shakespeare is creating his Globe in England. And it's the same level of rich poetic text with magnificent imagery, magnificent and intense and courageous political portraits, and really boldness, just as Shakespeare flattered no one, kings or commoners. And also as Shakespeare drew portraits of people in every level of the society. Kunshu also ranges across every social level and is politically courageous and powerful, and at the same time, what Shakespeare couldn't do is what Chinese culture has is this deeply detailed, systematized tradition where every tiny gesture has been imagined, understood, and developed. In the West, we tend to go on the pure white heat of random inspiration. The beauty of Chinese culture is the care it's taken to cultivate every part of every gesture. A family of gestures, an entire universe of eye movements that have been organized and understood so that human beings can become the most articulate beings in the universe. What it means that your body is communicating your belief system with incredible fineness of meaning. That same refinement that you see in the garden is the refinement that a human being should represent. And Kunshu is also a kind of superhuman moment where the woman sitting on my right represents something in the West we would never dream of. In the West, we have ballet and we have opera.